Hello everyone, it's me, Mark Burger, aka Banoffee Pie, and this is not quite a video you would normally see. I would not normally do videos outside, but I've decided to do a video outside, and because it's a wonderful day today, a bit breezy but still good. And today I would like to talk about something different actually. As you can read by the title, this is a question. Did I grew up in the right fan base? I'm asking you your opinion, but I'm going to give also my reasons why I grew up in the right fan base. You're probably talking about you're probably wondering which fan base am I talking about? I'm talking about this fan base, about Thomas the Tank Engine. When I grew up watching Thomas when I was about 3 or 4 years old. If you're wondering what was the first ever Thomas and Friends episode I've ever watched, the first ever episode I've watched was the third season episode, Thomas Gets Bumped. It was on one of the first Thomas and Friends videos, VHS actually, which was from the UK, called Fun Time Favourites, which contains lots of brilliant episodes. And this is when I grew up and watching Thomas, especially the old episodes, you know, with the whole season 1 to 7. Yeah, I also remember watching series 8 to 10 when I was still young. I think Thomas and Friends, the Thomas and Friends fan base is a really, really good one. So, I've seen lots of other fan bases, but I think I grew up in the right one, which is the one about Thomas and Friends. Yeah. So, about the other fan bases, which I think are not the right ones. Which ones shall we start with? Let's start with the Brony fan base. When I heard of the Brony fan base, which is the male adult fan of My Little Pony, I just thought they were just casual fans, you know, enjoying and doing some fun stuff with ponies. But the thing beside, there was too much of the dark side of the fandom, and they showed too much of it, which makes it look like the Brony fan base is a very dark side and not so much of a light side. You tell me if you think the Brony fan base is okay, but I don't think it is. The reason why is because there was so many people who became too obsessed over it, and they took the show too seriously. I'm going to admit, I'm not comparing myself to them, but I used to be like that, but only when I was a young boy and didn't understand the meaning of life. I thought Thomas and Friends was real. You know, like when you come and like you see a big locomotive speaking with a face. Well, I had imagined that, but then it's just fantasy. So that's when I accepted, like when I was a teenager. Yeah, however, the Bronies is a different story because because they let too much fantasy get the better of them. Such as there's the stupid Brandon the Brony Pony, or should it be Brandon the Persona Pony, or Brony Pony Productions? I don't know. But he believes in fictional worlds existing. I kind of have to. I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with that. There's beside heaven or hell, and yeah, those heaven and hell are the only things I can believe in, because you may already know this, but I'm Christian. Yeah. I'm just gonna say I'm Christian. That means, yeah, I go to church always, and yeah. But it, I don't believe in Equestria existing. I'm sorry, but they have too much fantasies, and they don't. The bronies don't have enough seriousness in them. Like, they always believe in Equestria existing. That's why I don't think the Brony fanbase is the right fanbase for me to enter in. I've never been to a Brony convention, to a My Little Pony fan convention, and I don't intend to. I did go, however, a fan convention, which was just a normal one, like Comic Con, which is called Hero Festival. You can only find it at Marseille or in Grenoble in France, which I live in France. Yeah, and also there's some of the bronies and Pegasisters have confirmed to be creeps. Like Wubcake, of course, which you already know with the videos I've done, the 2 videos. Yeah. I used to believe that trains would speak with faces, but not anymore. And if they did exist, it would just be creepy, like in a horror movie. Unless they have good personalities, that's what matters. Yeah. Now, moving on to another fan base, let's talk about none other than the second worst fan base ever, which is the Directioners, aka the One Direction fandom. That fan base, to be honest, is dead. Long time. But the scar they've left in the world will never heal. It was mostly girls. The One Direction fanbase would be full of thirsty girls. If you want to know more about how horrible it is, look on YouTube and type "crazy about One Direction," and you'll get why this fan base is just terrible. The One Direction fan base have done absolutely stuff that even the stars themselves, like Harry, Louis, Niall, Zayn, and Liam, would be offended by it. Yeah. When One Direction would be in the UK, the girls would literally go out and stalk them, and do stuff that would make the world cringe, which I sincerely hope they stay single. I'm sorry, but I'm not taking back on that, because they've done nothing to earn forgiveness after what they've done. Especially, and the shipping of Larry Stylinson. I'm sorry, but that made me cringe. I don't have anything against people being gay, being part of the LGBTQ plus community. But if they're going to force people to be like that, to be part of the LGBTQ community, that is a hell no. It's nice to support people, but not force them to do stuff that they don't want to do. It's their life, their choices. If they want to be gay, they want to be gay. They don't decide to be gay because the people told them to. I don't accept that. I don't ship people. I leave them alone. If they, if I think there was a girl that would be beautiful, and I would ask if she was single or if she's taken. If she was taken, I would completely support her. If she was single, I would take some time, you know, to have hangouts and stuff only when I feel like, and only when she feels like. Yeah. Moving on to the Sonic fanbase. Apparently, according to some people, the Sonic fanbase looks to be well behaved. Well, I do kind of have to disagree with that. The reason why is because have you ever heard of Sammy Classic Sonic Fan? He went viral because he would do nothing but screaming videos and literally prove that he has very, very bad autism. I have autism myself, but my autism would never in a million years let me do the stuff that Sammy did on camera, even if it wanted to. Yeah. He would just tell people to stop hating on Sonic. I don't hate Sonic. I also like the character Shadow, the Hedgehog. Yeah. I don't know much about Sonic though. Yeah. So yeah, those are the three fan bases I can only think about. I also am a fan of music, as you can see by the Nirvana. You know, I like all sorts of music. However, rap does represent a challenge. It's okay. I do like one rap song, and that is "Gangsta's Paradise" by Coolio. I do like a bit of Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. I'm old school of rap. Yeah. So let's get back to Thomas. Thomas and Friends. I think the fan base is a bit okay. However, it does gonna have its moments. Like, let's speak about the people who are a lot of a disgrace to the Thomas community. I'm not gonna say, I'm probably gonna save best for last, but I'm gonna talk about some of the YouTubers which I don't like. Let's start with the least ones. The ones I'm least hated on. I don't hate. Let's talk about Boscher Studios. He was a man-child back in the old days. He would just literally do infamous raging videos, and he would steal people's work and call it inspiration when really it's plagiarism. And then he would also rage himself on camera, making a total fool out of himself. He would yell at his mum. I mean, he does have autism, but that's not an excuse to yell at your parents like that. I do sometimes yell at my parents, only sometimes when they really take the mick out of me. I do that rarely now. Yeah, he would also be racist because he would have said the N-word 2 times in a live stream, which you can find on a title video called "Every Disgrace to the Thomas Community." Yeah, but he came back on another channel, and it looks like he's changed a bit. I don't want to be in contact with him, but he looks okay for the while, unless he does stuff again. Now, let's talk about the second one, and that is Kane Fan Zero the no Kane Fan 701. It looks like he was a good Thomas and Friends creator, content creator, but unfortunately it's confirmed that he is a paedophile. Because he sent some Titanic porn to a 16-year-old, which there's already proof. He also stole someone's headcanon for Alfred, one of the most famous Thomas and Friends original characters. But also, in a live stream, he pulled out his small butter or butcher knife, going like this, going, "I can't be accepted. It's time for me to kill some people." Yeah. You can literally tell by his face that he can give you the creeps. Not even joking. Maybe he's changed. It looks like he's changed in some of his videos, but I prefer not to be in contact with him. I don't have anything against him. But it does look like he is quite creepy. Let's move on to Jessica Virginity. She's the definition of a woman child. I mean, she created a horrible, horrible original character, caused so many dramas on Discord, and literally acts like a kid on Twitter because because thanks to the video, there was a screenshot of her on Twitter saying, "Can't hear you, I've got headphones on me, la 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 la." Apparently she's an adult, but yeah. That's not an excuse to have an attitude like that. Now, let's move on to one of the other disgraces of the Thomas and Friends community, Husker the Wolf, or is it Mr. Cool Blue, or is it Joseph Morley, Joe Inslee? I don't know. That person couldn't deal with people who were suicidal. I mean, I was friends with a person, but not anymore, who was suicidal, but I didn't tell him to kill himself. This is something Joseph did. He said it to a person who had depression, who was suicidal, and he can't change his attitude at all. He can't accept that people will not forgive him for the things he had done. I mean, people haven't forgiven me for stuff I did, and I just accept that. But I just move on to other stuff, and I prefer to not stay in contact with people. I just accept it. Joseph can't accept that. You can tell it in his calls with Buzzy Trombone, a good friend of mine, which I'm in contact, who calls out people who are paedophiles. But he is one of the angriest people alive, Buzzy Trombone. He called out Joseph on a call in Discord, which was recorded. Yeah. What's really disappointing about him is that he had some great potential to be a good voice actor, because he almost sounds identical to Thomas. He really does. I'm trying to sound like Thomas himself. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another person. Which is actually not a person, it's a company. And that is Mattel. The thing with Mattel is, they don't listen to the fans of Thomas and Friends. They've even also ruined the children's uh, dreams about watching Thomas and Friends and liking it. Some of them actually cried watching it because Thomas and Friends is not the same anymore with this horrible reboot of All Engines Go. But I've decided to move out of the of Thomas and Friends and just continue on with my life. You know, I want to be like a voice actor or a singer, as you can tell by my videos. Okay. Mattel have also changed a bit the merchandise of Thomas and Friends. Okay, they first started with Big World, Big Adventures when they moved out three of the Steam team, such as Edward, Henry, and Toby. Disappointing. What's worse is that Toby has come back in the All Engines Go, but now they introduce him. Okay, what's the point of introducing Toby in All Engines Go if they already know about Toby a long time ago? Can someone answer me that? I don't understand the point. Yeah. Now let's move on to I've saved best for last. I know Myrtle is the worst, but for me the other person is the worst. That is Sean Britton, who's a brony who does Thomas and Friends, My Little Pony, Sailor Moon content and crossover episodes. These ones were cringe. For me, they were much more cringe than Husker the Wolf. At first I appreciated his crossovers, but now that I rewatched them, I regret it. Absolutely, I regret every single last breath of watching him. He ships Thomas characters with the My Little Pony characters. Thomas with Twilight Sparkle, Henry with Applejack, Edward with Fluttershy, James with Rarity. Can you seriously imagine them being in love, doing a crossover of that? I can't. George Gasser, on the other hand, he does better crossover than Sean Britton. He tried to get a Super Dog Lover 1 back for some reason, but he's also a massive Sailor Moon simp, apparently. Really, Sean Britton? Sailor Moon is fictional. I hate it when people let their fantasy get the better of them. It ruins their lives. Okay, so there are some other Thomas fans who missed the point on the show. Okay, remember Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure in 2015? They missed the point on this because they think the Fat Controller was too harsh on Thomas when he would do stuff like he caused the coaches derail and losing the dynamite in the cavern, ignoring the workmen, and also letting Ryan have the bad coal. All of Thomas's incidents in the movie were his own fault. Plain and simple fact. As said on DeviantArt by MillyFan92, unless I'm much mistaken. Yeah. Okay, that's where there's the toxic side of the fan base. For the light side of the fan base, there are some people who've done exhibitions, such as I remember going back in the Brighton Model World in 2016. It was absolutely superb. I got to see the top props team. I didn't do much in contact with them, but however, I saw some YouTubers, such as I had a nice talk with Smurfy Dan, on YouTube, I remember. And I saw some other Thomas and Friends YouTubers. There was Scar Louie, Terry 55 Stepney, Parva Productions. So many I can name. I mean, oh my gosh. They also had a computer which puts all the Thomas and Friends stuff. They even had Sodal's Legend of the Lost Treasure, and I remember during the end credits there was Never Overlook a Little Engine, and I decided to sing along, and to my surprise, they actually sang along. One of the best things that ever happened in my life. It was so much fun. I was not doing it for intention at all. I was just feeling of singing along. Then also there's some of Thomas' other content creators who came up with original songs, I remember. Like We Are the Troublesome Trucks. He's the Number One, I remember. I can't remember who created it though. But the songs are absolutely superb. And also, I also like the old songs. Don't judge a book by its cover. The Island song, the Snow song, all of these other songs. Because what's great about these songs is that they make it sound really back in the old days of the 80s and stuff. You know, what's great about Thomas and Friends is that they didn't have an orchestra back in the day. It was just two composers, Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell, with a synthesizer and a computer. It was that. All done. There's nothing I can wish more for. You don't even need an orchestra. Well, however, there was an orchestra back when season 13 to season 24, I think. I think 24 was the last season of Thomas and Friends overall. Yeah. Okay. And I've got a lot in contact with some Thomas and Friends creators, like Train Lover 16. He's not a Thomas and Friends content creator, but he does make his original series inspired by Thomas and Friends. Well, he did. I got to participate in the finale of the Redcliffe Railway Tales, which is, you know, with the whole, I got to voice the characters Pete, Georgie and Dim, aka the teenagers on drugs. And he was going to have some Thomas voice actors, famous fanbase voice actors, such as Rosie the Cutie 1992 or 1995, unless I'm much mistaken, and Victor Tanzik. Unfortunately, they didn't participate, but it did come to a closure. It was really fun. I also the other days there was an Australian Thomas and Friends thing called Too Much Thomas a Tank Engine, and it was an exhibition where there would be lots and lots of Thomas and Friends Tommy Trackmaster merchandise on exhibition while they were turning. They were run by two young boys, but unfortunately it looks like they've grown out of Thomas, and they don't do it anymore, sadly. But I remember watching it back in the day, and it was absolutely superb. Yeah, this is why I think Thomas and Friends is the right fan base which I grew up in. Yeah, there are so many Thomas and Friends fans I would like to thank. There was also the Unlikely Fandom documentary, which I haven't watched yet, and I plan to do so when it comes out, either on YouTube or on DVD. We never know. But I'd like to thank every single Thomas and Friends fan for letting me be part of this amazing, absolute fan base and making me love Thomas and Friends. Because if it wasn't for Thomas and Friends, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Man with a life, a job, and so many nice people I've met, I've seen, who are not Thomas fans, but who of the Thomas and Friends inspired me to be the man I am today. You know. So yeah, I think I'm done with the video, and this is the reason why I think I grew up in the right fan base. If you think I grew up in the right fan base, please tell me your reasons in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.